What's been going on in the banking sector, and how are you positioned in that sense?
So the market has seen last year and early this year has been perhaps the most difficult years in the banking sector over 2 decades.
Yes.
So we saw this problem in 1993, 94. And over time, what tends to happen is the difficulties we see in the industry are not something that is new. We've seen this before. Yeah, but I always say that in the long run, investors and depositors need to look just beyond what is the highest interest rate I'm paying in the market. Business and banking cannot just be about getting the highest interest rates. It must be about what is the purpose of the organizations, what investments are we making in the community, and how are we scaling our business for long-term sustainability. That's the three things that business should be looking for. We're going to deliver profits, definitely. We're going to work with our people, and we want to be able to generate some value to the planet. That's the three kind of P's that we work with as an organization. So we see a change. Yeah. Customers getting nervous. I must say in the last 3 months, which is the last quarter, with our spending significant amount of our businesses to support Chase Bank, yes, we brought some kind of stability in the industry. That was a big move that was to kind of say the market was a little bit lopsided, we are now building stability. Yeah. And KCB used all its capital to invest in terms of resources to say let's kind of build the industry on a stable platform. And for us, we don't think that the industry is out of the woods yet. Correct? There's a new normal coming up. Customers looking at recalibrating where should we put our deposits. Granted, the two banks which have closed is nearly 160 billion shillings of deposits, yes, and that's a significant amount for the industry. I mean, for deposits which are 3 trillion shillings, losing 160 billion is not a small feat. No. So it's to find a resolution, and we are clear that Chase will be resolved earlier than the 1 year which central bank had set up. For us as KCB, we are prepared to take advantage of our customer centricity, our network that we do have, our deposit franchise growth. And also, we haven't been a bank that delivers the highest interest rates, both to depositors. We have been a fairly competitive bank. So we deliver fairly good interest rates for our customers who are coming to us with other products, and also to be able to say we are not paying the highest interest in the market. So that's the balance that we have been playing and pushing our digital financial services ahead in the next year.
Let me just go back to Chase Bank, because you said yesterday that your work is done. I think that's to quote you, and that it was now going to be a job for KPMG, CBK, and KDIC to find a potential investor in there. That decision to enter there, was that driven by the national interest, by the fact that you are a big bank and that you were playing a role in there? Because there seemed to be a lot of propaganda about that whole intervention. And by that I mean, people saying you're buying it on the cheap. And just tell us, Joshua, what exactly drove you to go in there, and what's happening now?
On the 26th of April, which is nearly 100 days ago, I tweeted a message to Chase Bank and said, go Chasers, it can be done. Yes, you can go back and rebuild a greater organization than your past. And the specific reason why we went to Chase Bank was really to push the agenda of stabilizing the financial sector. Because we see the opportunity and we saw the risk. There was concerns around this is a systemic problem facing the industry. And Alikan, this has been issues in other countries before. And suddenly you need successful banks failing, and suddenly all of us, even as large banks, are part of the contagion. So the reality of the matter is we could have done it. It was not just KCB's proposal. Yes. NIC Bank had the same kind of proposal to the central bank. And we said, because in our view it was a short-term mission, without an investment, we will be able to bring in Chase Bank into operational. That's one aspect why we went in there. And it is now. And we did believe that although the bank was kind of not was closed, we will then get it back into its feet, get it running, have its doors open. The second phase, which was much more the most important one, was getting the central bank to do a business review with an independent party. And now the central bank has appointed KPMG from South Africa to do the work. And that will then define the future of Chase Bank. So we just remain an interested party. The concerns that we are conflicted was, I believe, lack of clarity, that we will be involved in doing due diligence and building information. We didn't spend time looking at Chase Bank's books. We focused on opening branches, focused about getting the systems back, getting customers access, getting information, being able to reopen correspondent banking relationships, being able to get Chase Mfukoni working, getting all the staff across the 62 branches aligned and engaged. I mean, in 3 months, that's a dramatic amount of work to do. Yeah. And that has been completed. In my view, initially we were given a year, but in 60 days that work was completed. So where we are today is very historic as well, Alikan. If you look at the chapter of our country, never before has any bank been reopened and kept open. So we're kind of writing a new chapter in the book, in the history of our country. This is the role that we have played. Now, to do that, sometimes so KCB prides itself about looking beyond the short term, and we kind of run a long-term race, which is a marathon. In the short term, the concerns that KCB was buying Chase Bank is actually not factual. We like a business process that is transparent, above board, and we may not be the one that offers the best piece of investment for the shareholders, but that is not for us to decide. That is the shareholders and central bank to decide. And there are many other people. In the past, people say there are many people interested. What you've done is to get the bank into its feet. The staff are there, the engagement is there, the customers are in there. And we do believe that KDIC and Central Bank will do the very best to make the process transparent. Now, Alkan, if the process is not as transparent and open, we will not participate.
Yes.
And we made that extremely clear to the Central Bank.
Excellent. And thanks for clearing that up, because I think there's been a lot of noise around that.
Yeah. And Chase by itself is a great brand.
Yes. What amazed me, Joshua, was the brand strength, actually. I remember, at the time before you intervened, and the amount of support all these customers were giving the bank, it was sort of some kind of Kool-Aid that
and
they had.
Ultimately, what destroys a big brand is the trust and integrity of an organization. No matter how strong you are, little things, it reminds me of the old days of Enron many years ago.
Yes.
Little aspects about governance can destroy even the strongest organization. So what we see ourselves is that Chase Bank has a very strong future. It's not the bank that should be allowed to disappear from the face of our country. It has got a very centric customer engagement that runs. It has, and when we looked at Chase Bank's process themselves, it had very good policies. I would say were world class. Yeah.
So what went wrong?
So that's an issue that central bank still has to continue finding out. So the realm of central bank to determine. So they've done some detailed investigations, and also, the independent business review kind of company will also assess your assets, your books, your loans, and look at your legal aspects. Where are we? So from our point of view, we are extremely excited that we've been involved to bring back an enterprise that had collapsed. Yeah, and ring-fence the depositors' balances within this fund, because there are no chance, Alikan, of getting the money back.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There isn't.
There wasn't any chance until we intervened.
Yes.
There was no other alternative. Right? You just need to look at all cases of banks which have closed in the past.
Yes, there's been no record of one that I can remember being rehabilitated like this, like you've done here. Am I wrong?
So when we say that our work is done, just to be clear, so we had a number of staff in Chase Bank, and as we reduce them by 50% this month and next month, we are saying that if even KCB was to invest in Chase, we don't need our staff in Chase Bank. Chase already has got his own. Maybe you just require a managing director in Chase Bank. You don't need to be taking up all your people and put them in another organization. So that's where we're saying that ultimately you don't need as much people in the future, whoever the investor is. And that is preparing the bank to getting out of receivership. And we believe it's a question that the central bank will resolve. The responsibility for the future of Chase is not in KCB's hands, it's in the hands of the Central Bank of Kenya. And that should be extremely clear. It's the governor and the KDIC that have a legal mandate to determine the future of Chase Bank. And for us, what we're doing with this process is to hand over that responsibility, hand over Chase, technically, to Central Bank.